around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah,
get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle nobody, settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling, welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, in this art he's king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back.
It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it.
Woo! Man! Great googly moogly. Don't go soft when the hardest part casts out. Man, that is some good shit right there. What's up, everybody? As you just heard, it's the hardest part of the ring. Back at ya with another apron bump, and obviously a very special one. Now, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Rico Maz, who did that theme song for me. Obviously, it's a remix of my original intro song, but with spicy hot fire added to it. So thank you to Rico. You can find him on Spotify and other places as well, and I'll put all of that in the description below. Awesome dude, really fun to work with, and yes, once again, all this info below if you want to check him out. Really good music of all genres, really. So, and now you might be asking, hey, hardest part of the ring, you got a new song? Is that because you're in your second year of the podcast? Is that how you're celebrating 50 episodes of the Apron Bump? Is that why you have a new song? I'm gonna tell you this. No, it's not. New song, new Apron Bump, because we are here to talk about Trytan. Man, so look, if you caught just for some quick backstory, if you're kind of just diving in dick first into this podcast and you haven't listened to my other TNA reviews, the latest one I did before this was Against All Odds 2005, and I did that with Charlie from the Get Show podcast. It was a really good episode. Go check that out if you haven't already. But in that episode, we kind of talked about how at that previous pay-per-view, which Against All Odds was the previous pay-per-view. I don't know if I said that or not. At Against All Odds, they did this whole vignette. Trytan is going to debut on Impact the next week. And, man, you know, we get into it in the episodes. I'm not going to step on our toes, but to say, you know, that there's falling off a cliff, but then there's falling off a cliff and then hitting a bunch of branches on the way down, and then like kind of catching yourself, but then slipping off, and then like Superman swooping in to catch you, and then bringing you back up to the top, and then dropping you again, and then you land on some spiky rocks, and then the blood's everywhere, and the piranhas eat the rest of your remains. That represents Trytan, his career, and his match on this show. So if you like car crashes, you're tuned into the right episode, because man, I am over 5 minutes in and I haven't even told you what this episode's on, although it is also in the title. So if you can't gather from that, I don't know what to tell you. But TNA Destination X 2005, obviously emanating from the Impact Zone. And yeah, these Destination X pay-per-views, they did them on a yearly basis, and traditionally they were more geared towards the X division. And I guess kind of they did that on this show. It was really just one match that they were building to. But they definitely built towards that match more than any other match they had on the card. And, traditionally there's kind of like, it's just, I don't know. It feels like a B pay-per-view to me. Maybe that's just me because it's so, we're going to spend over an hour telling you why. This kind of felt like a B pay-per-view. But there was a lot of entertaining stuff, entertainingly good and entertainingly bad on this show, as per usual when it comes to these TNA reviews. But we have Jeff Jarrett continuing his reign of terror as world champion. Got AJ Styles, who is the doing the opposite for the X Division. He's the X Division champion at the time and is really getting the ball rolling for that division because that is what's going to set TNA apart from the rest of the competition at this point in time. So good stuff from AJ and the X Division on this show. Some other good matches. We get another Raven versus Dusty Rhodes match. Thank goodness, because that first one was so amazing. It wasn't. And the Disciples of Apocalypse are back here because apparently that's what people were clamoring for in 2005, hey, they sucked 10 years previous to this, so maybe they won't suck here. They did. I don't know what to tell you. But someone that does not suck is Frank Mandolini from the Last Minute Wrestling podcast. A long time coming. Been wanting this guy on for a while, and we finally did it. Great guest. He has a great podcast himself. Does a lot of really cool interviews. He interviewed RVD, among other people. Does them all the time, and does a really good job at it as well. You can find him at lmwpodcast.com and also at lmwpodcast on all social medias. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Black People Meet, all of the usual suspects. So give Frank a follow. All his info's in the description. Really good follow on all social medias and a great podcast as well. And we had a raucous time discussing some old school TNA here, so let's get to it. TNA Destination X 2005 with myself and Frank from the Last Minute Podcast. Yeah, thanks again for joining me on this. I know you're a busy man over there. I know you've been doing a lot of stuff, a lot of content lately, so appreciate you making the time to come on the old Apron bump here.
No, well, thank you for having me. That's amazing, actually. I've been wanting to do this such of a retro review for a long time now.
Yeah, it's always a good time. I heard you on Matt Ritter's podcast, Smacking It Raw, and you guys seem to have a good time on there. And I've listened to a few of your interviews. I think the RVD one was the first one I listened to. So yeah, good stuff over there, man.
Thank you.
But yeah, for this show today, you got some old TNA. Were you watching TNA during the time that this was going on? Like in 2005?
Bloody hell, yes I did. Yes.
Oh
yes,
no.
Yes, I actually loved TNA at the time.
Yeah.
Well, it was very weird because basically they shown everything, like not just Impact, even the pay-per-views for free here in Italy on a on a very small satellite channel that basically almost nobody watched anyway. So I am one of the few people who actually had the chance to watch. Of that. Yeah, and since I think they started to broadcast the pay-per-view like in 2006 or something like that, and every Sunday they did the older pay-per-view from 2002 up to that point. So basically, in a month, you had the chance to see 4 different pay-per-views of the years prior. So you had, that was great. And that was around the time that Kurt Angle got there. So I had to see that live, basically, which is something that I'm sure not so many people did Italy back during that time.
Mm-hmm. And that was like 06, right? When Kurt Angle got there?
Yeah, I think it's late 06.
Yeah, because that was around the time I started watching. It was maybe I just stumbled upon Impact on Spike because I saw the Dudley Boys And I was like, what the fuck? I didn't know these guys were still wrestling. I'd never even heard of TNA because like Jeff Hardy was there and all these guys that I had grown up watching. I was like, oh, that's where these guys went.
Yeah.
Yeah, this show here, Destination X 2005, this is before I started watching. So I haven't really seen this era at all. I've like heard a few things about it and I've seen some clips here and there. But as far as like watching shows from start to finish, I've never seen Destination X 05. Have you?
Actually, I think I've seen bits and pieces of it because I don't want to spoil it at the moment. But once we have got to the last couple of matches, I vividly remember basically every spot of them. So yeah, so I think I had the chance to catch the end of the pay-per-view.
Okay. Well, you know, like you said, we won't spoil it yet, but the main event, it was very similar to the main event of the previous pay-per-view. And that, like almost, well, we'll get into it. It's hilariously similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, Destination X, at this point and more so kind of going forward, is built around the X division, which is smart because, I mean, TNA at this point is kind of, they're figuring out some things because at first they were just trying to be WWE light or kind of an extension of WCW. But with the X division and the tag division too, those are kind of like the differentiating factors that they have that you couldn't really find in WWE or really elsewhere at the time. So I like they kind of built this whole pay-per-view around the X division and the Ultimate X match that happens in like the second to last match of the show. But otherwise it was kind of because they put all their effort into building that match and not a lot of effort into building anything else. And that kind of shows a little bit.
It was a little weird, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I watched all the impacts leading up to this just to kind of put myself in that mindset. But I mean, really, you didn't miss much.
You're a brave man.
They're actually very easy watches. I mean, they're like 40 minutes. And it's always fun to it's a blast from the past a little bit.
Oh yeah, because at the time Impact was just 1 hour. Oh, that was amazing time. You didn't have to sit through like a 3-hour Raw like we did today.
Oh man, well some people did, I didn't. But yeah, even back then, because back then, like in 2005, it was still pretty new to. I don't even know if they were on Spike at this point, but they're on some channel. They had just gotten to the Impact Zone maybe like a few months before this. So impacts were kind of formatted like mid 90s Raws were, or like mid 90s wrestling in general. It was just a lot of squash matches and vignettes. So it's not really like must see TV. But I guess it accomplishes its goal in building up matches for the pay-per-view, which it's debatable whether that's a good formula to have. But yeah. So this show here, like I said, like the past few pay-per-views have been pretty good. Like really good X division stuff, really good tag division stuff. It seemed like they were kind of making some strides as far as like what their identity is. But this show, like I love TNA. Like I feel like TNA gets shit on way more than it deserves to. Oh, yeah. I think they put out a lot of good content over the years and still are. But this show in particular there's not a lot of positive on this show, but we might as well just get right into it. So yeah. Opening match, 8-man tag team match. We have Team Canada, which is a team comprised of Petey Williams, Bobby Roode. Oh my God, who's the third guy? There's a guy, Alistair Ralphs.
It was this guy A1.
Yes.
And
Eric Young is the one I'm forgetting.
Oh yeah, Eric Young, of course.
Right. So it's gonna be those three. Plus Johnny Devine, but Johnny Devine, I guess, injured his MCL previous to this match, so they subbed him out with Alistair Ralphs, who went on to become, like you said, A1. And I didn't know this guy at all when he kind of showed up on my screen, and it didn't feel like they were really putting forth any effort to explain who he was.
No.
Did you get that?
No, not at all. And if I'm correct, is he the one who actually briefly after that left Team Canada and was replaced with Petey Williams? I think.
Well, Petey Williams is there now.
Yeah, is there. Okay. Yeah. Of course, was there, but it wasn't official in the match.
Was he not?
or not? Oh my god!
It was
Now,
Eric Young.
I'm having trouble remembering that. And I actually saw this match 2 days ago, so that's a lot.
No, I watched it yesterday, and I literally forgot Eric Young was in this match. So you're not. That just says more about this match and how like random and who gives a fuck it was, honestly. But whatever the case, you have a bunch of Canadians. Short story, long story short, versus the team of Conan, BG James, aka Road Dogg, and AMW. And so a lot of talent, honestly, in this match, but definitely just kind of felt kind of like a filler match, just kind of a match to get the crowd going. Although I don't know if maybe this is just me, but the crowd seemed pretty dead from the start of the show. Because even like when Road Dogg is doing his whole thing, he's doing the New Age Outlaw thing, but kind of remixing it to change it to whatever they are, the Three Life Crew.
The Three Life Crew, which was which I totally forgot about Three Life Crew before rewatching it, and the Three Life Crew was made of himself, Conan, and Ron Killings, which we know today as R-Truth.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it was kind of a...
Imagine a weirder trio, if you can.
Well, were you a fan of Road Dogg and K Quick and WWF?
Nope. No. Well, I didn't have the chance to even see them at the time. But
that's why.
The first time I saw Road Dogg actually was through TNA, because it was doing a little bit later than that. It was doing with Billy Gunn. It was doing the Voodoo King Mafia, which is the VKM, the initials of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Very subtle, very subtle. And they sort of tried to invade the role, just like the DX did with Nitro or that weird time. But anyway, anyway, no, I actually never liked him. I didn't know anything about him prior to his time in TNA. And to this day, I don't like him, even because of his, let's say, peculiar political views that he disclosed on Twitter.
Yeah. I mean, that aside, I think his peak was definitely in WWF in the late '90s with Billy Gunn. Yeah, and if you didn't see that, you're definitely not gonna. It's just a guy in shorts with some dad-looking dude with a jersey, so you're not gonna really. Even when he was in WWF, I mean, it just was with the times, and they were super over. He was really good on the mic, and I mean, outside of that, he didn't have that much depth to him. No. Past what he's doing here, so I can kind of get that to an extent. But we have an 8-man tag here, and like I said, I mean, it's an opening match. It wasn't designed to be a huge, long, story-driven match, and honestly, the match was pretty fun. It was pretty fast paced. Yeah. It felt quick, but it felt like a sprint of a match, which for an opening match with all these guys in it, I feel like that was the right way to go.
Yeah, it had its moments, and I was pretty impressed with Conan as well, because Conan, during that time in TNA, Conan was mostly used as a manager, basically, for LAX. Or something like that, or on-screen personality. He rarely got physical involved, right? And in this match, Conan can fucking go, man. I was really impressed. I was actually really impressed about him.
That's funny, because I made the exact same note, because Conan got the hot tag, and he's doing like somersaults into clotheslines. He's slamming people all over the place. And like you said, in a matter of a few years, he's just a manager. Yeah. Even in like Lucha Underground, I think he just looks so much older. He's like walking with a cane. Yeah. It's crazy. This is 2005. So it's like, I did not expect him to be as mobile as he was at this stage.
Me neither, actually. When did he retire?
Okay, is he even officially retired? I feel like he'd still get in the ring.
Probably he still does something in Mexico.
Yeah, I feel like he's a guy that'll do like one-off matches every now and then.
Yeah, like a Ric Flair type.
Yeah, or he's like an Undertaker. He has to train all year for one match, kind of deal. But yeah, the match comes to an end when Scott D'Amore, who's the manager / coach of Team Canada, he climbs to the top rope to distract Conan, but Conan throws him off. And as he's distracted by Scott D'Amore and all that shit, Bobby Roode hits him with a Northern Lariat in the back of the head for the win. Team Canada wins.
I miss Bobby Roode's Northern Lariat. I loved that move as a finisher because it was basically for the ones who don't know about it, it was basically a clothesline, but you have to hit your opponent in the back of their neck. Basically, that's the main difference from a regular clothesline. But I don't know, there was something about the way he executed that move that was so cool to me. And when he joined the WWE in like 2015, 16, I don't remember, well, a few years ago, and they started using the glorious DDT, the move that he still does now. I never enjoyed that move as a finisher.
I didn't either. I can tell you, I think the only reason that he started doing it was he could do the glorious taunt while he was doing it.
Yeah.
I think that was literally the mindset.
Yeah,
start to finish.
Probably. Yeah. And I missed this era of Bobby Roode when he did this.
I don't like his hair. His hair stinks.
I don't like his hair now because I was used to look at him that way with this long greasy hair.
Very noodly.
Yeah.
Very ramen noodly.
Yeah, very much.
Not good. But yeah, the Northern Lariat, I mean, is perfect because Canada, Northern, all that shit.
Of course.
But yeah, really good match here, I think. Set the tone for the show. And then, keeps Team Canada strong. So this next, I mean, I'm not going to go like over every single like segment that happened in this show, but like this stuff with Tracy, Trinity, Johnny Fairplay, Dusty Rhodes, man, they've had this shit on every Impact. They've had it on every pay-per-view that I've watched in 2004, 2005. I can't even pretend to care about this stuff.
No, and this was so much a sign of the time. It's I don't know, it's something that probably will never fly in today's wrestling. Not only because it was in a way gross, I would say, but
many ways.
Yeah, in many ways, but it's simply uninteresting. I mean, to see to see those two ladies fight for the attention of a fat old man. No disrespect to Dusty, but it was really gross. It was a really gross looking stuff.
Well, there's a lot of things at play here. First of all, there's no women's division at this point. Nope. And we all know, TNA would, be far ahead of WWE as far as the women's revolution within a couple of years. But at this point, man, I think they only had Tracy and Trinity at this point, and they can't just face each other every night, So I guess it's a way to keep them on screen and their characters present to the viewer. Mm-hmm. But not in a wrestling way. So what do? Just make them a secretary because women, I guess.
Because that's all they can do, right?
Apparently. Yeah. And like you said, so Dusty Rhodes is there, who's the director of authority, and both the women are trying to fight to be his assistant. Uh-huh. And we have a match later that involves that. But then they also have Johnny Fairplay getting involved. Have you ever watched Survivor?
You mean the reality show?
Yes.
No, but just one version in Italy we had many years ago, but I never followed reality TV at all.
So, Italian Survivor just makes me laugh for some reason.
Yeah.
He was, at least I guess at the time, pretty popular in like pop culture in America. So just another kind of trying to get some mainstream attention. So just another, again, a way to force him into the fold in some way to get some mainstream attention of some sort. But yeah, it all felt flat to me.
Yeah, TNA always did the worst imaginable thing to grab mainstream attention in their history.
Right.
Like when they had the NFL player, I can't recall his name at the moment.
Pac-Man Jones.
Pac-Man Jones, yeah, Pac-Man Jones. Yeah, that
and
was
he couldn't get hit, so he would wrestle in matches, but he wouldn't do anything because he's in a tag team with Truth.
And he is a former tag team champion.
Never once took a bump. Never once got in the ring. I think if I remember correctly, didn't he like throw a stack of money at somebody to distract them, and that's how they won it?
Yeah,
something along those lines.
yeah. I mean, if you look in that perspective, he might have had the best wrestling career ever. Never took a bump. Was a champion.
It was efficient, if nothing else.
Yeah.
So yeah, and what we have after that? So we have a pretty random match. We have Chris Sabin versus Chase Stevens of the Naturals tag team. And this is kind of the point where they get linked up with Chris Candido, who's kind of their manager at this point, although Candido still wrestles at that point. So I guess they're really building up the Naturals here, and I guess it's just a method in getting them on screen. And they also had Chris Sabin, who didn't have a match, so it's like, hey, let's throw these guys out there and see what happens. So this match kind of felt to me. First
of all, I didn't recall at all the lame-ass team that Chris Sabin had. The music, his entrance team.
Hail Sabin!
I didn't recall it at all. Oh my god, that was atrocious.
It was pretty bad, yeah.
And you have to, sorry if I go for a tangent here, but every time I see this era of Chris Sabin, I'm always reminded that for some reasons the Italian commentators of the TNA always said that he had inspiration for his wrestling moveset coming from Dragon Ball, which is
Dragon Ball.
Yeah, Dragon Ball, which is something that never sounded true to me, and he never actually did anything even remotely resembling Dragon Ball. And for all these years, now 15 years, I've been thinking, were they referring secretly to Kenny Omega, but they mistaken him for because Kenny Omega at the time
it was literally when you said Dragon Ball, I was like, Kenny Omega does it, not Chris Sabin.
Yeah, but I don't know if Kenny Omega already did that shit in 2005.
I have no idea, because he's still pretty new. I don't know if he's in ROH at this point, because I know that's when I first saw him. It's possible. He's probably doing something somewhere.
I have no idea. Basically, for all these years, I always thought that the Italian commentators thought that Chris Sabin was Kenny Omega, basically.
That is hilarious.
That's because I've never even once seen Chris Sabin do anything remotely recalling Dragon Ball. And
I've never seen Chris Sabin and Kenny Omega in the same room. Have you?
No.
So maybe they're the same person.
Yeah, we don't have a proof about it. But if I will ever, I'm gonna put this out in the universe right now. If I'll ever interview Chris Sabin, I'll ask him about it.
Are you Kenny Omega?
Because did you use Dragon Ball stuff in your arsenal?
It's probably a smarter question.
Yeah,
you put it that way. That's why you're the interview expert, not me.
Yeah. So sorry if I derailed the discussion on the match, but the match
derail me all the time.
The match was kind of I don't know. The main takeaway that I have about it is the kind of botchy finish that I feel like they had this. I don't know. Something was a little bit clunky to me. Probably they didn't click so much.
Yeah.
And it's always amazing to think that basically you talked about Chris Candido. Chris Candido will die literally a month and a half after this paper.
Was it that soon after? I didn't know. Yeah. I knew at some point because he wasn't the story that he like broke his leg.
Yeah.
But then in the surgery there were some complications. He had a blood clot, something along those lines.
Yeah. He broke his leg in a cage match at the Lockdown pay-per-view, which was 1 month after that.
That's the next pay-per-view, yeah.
And in that match there was also Lance Hoyt, nowadays Lance Archer. And basically, I saw that match recently, and it didn't even look. I mean, you could tell he was hurt, but it didn't look that bad to need surgery or something like that. It's truly a sad thing that he was basically he could still go. He was probably transitioning into a more managerial role or something like that on screen, but he could still wrestle, and that made me so sad.
Yeah, for something so minor to have such a tragic effect is really, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And if I can just jump at what happened after the match.
Dude, this was my first huge laugh of the show. I howled when I saw this, but you can run through it if you want.
Basically, long story short, after the match, there was a sort of a beatdown on Chris Sabin, and a masked man came to the rescue. And when that man unmasked himself, he was Shocker. And everybody in the world said, "Who the fuck is Shocker?" Because the commentators played it like it was some sort of big deal. I don't know.
Man, Don West can watch me folding my laundry and he'd make it seem like it was a big deal.
Yeah. Whoa, the Shocker! Can you?
Oh my God!
Well, I have written in my notes here, all in capital letters, the actual fuck about Shocker. And 3 question marks.
It was, because they said he was, and I quote, Shocker from the McDonald's commercials. So it's not even Shocker, because apparently he's pretty big in CMLL.
Yeah.
And except that because he did like a pretty good like tope over the top rope, and he seemed like he was pretty competent in the ring. So he's clearly a wrestler. But then he takes his mask off, and I'm like, who the fuck is this? And then it's just like, and then he takes his mask off, and I'm still like, who the fuck is this? So it's like, I don't know. I guess I don't even think he's stuck with TNA for a long time.
I think he was there like for a month and a half or something like
that. There was a lot of that going on at this time. A lot of people have a revolving door in TNA.
Yeah, and that's a problem that they had to these days, if you ask me, because even now that Impact is creating really good shows, really solid shows. The main problem is that their roster changes every time. And you literally have not so much time to get into a character, then that immediately gets taken away.
Exactly. And there's a period where they did kind of maintain their talent, maybe like 08 through like 12, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like you said, like that's kind of what's kept me from watching Impact in the past like 5, 6, 7 years, is that they'll put all this investment time, all these matches into these big players that they have, but then they'll just unceremoniously get released just because they feel like it. Like I think it happened with EC3. Like they built up, who else? Like Austin Aries. Like they put so much effort into him. He won the world title, main eventing Bound for Glory, and then he just leaves. Johnny Impact, just a list of guys that we can run through, and that's kind of the problem that they had.
And even now, they say that probably with Taya it's the same thing. She's rumored to go away from Impact.
She's been there for a while, hasn't she?
Yeah.
So I think they got their money's worth with her.
Yeah, I think a good 4 to 5 years she's been there now.
Yeah, holding down the division over there. But you say that was an issue that TNA had. Well, I have one more, because this next match, bull rope match, Raven versus Dusty Rhodes. Now, so this is like, okay, Raven, Dusty Rhodes. Obviously, even in 2005, big names, like they're names that people can associate with wrestling in the past.
Yeah,
that's the reason they're on the show, not because of their skill.
No,
not because they're over, because of their names.
Yeah.
And even like Raven and Dustin, they clearly don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like them, and you have guys like Kevin Nash, and like when Scott Hall came in for a bit, all these like they had like Jimmy Snuka and Roddy Piper. They're getting all these names. Yeah. But the fact that they're so clearly apathetic towards everything kind of almost does more harm than good, I think.
Yeah, they wanted a paycheck, and that's it. Well, first of all, this match, according to Wikipedia, this match lasted 6 minutes and 10 seconds. And it probably was a good 3 to 4 minutes longer than what it should have been. Yeah. I never liked Raven. I'm sorry. I came into wrestling past his prime. I never saw him in ECW. Not as it happened live, of course, and or in WWF. I don't like the concept of the Texas Bull Rope match or a strap match or this kind of matches are always the one that bore me to death. It's really at least to me, it's really difficult to get me interested in this kind of matches. And plus, Dusty Rhodes looks way better now than he did 15 years ago, and.
This isn't even his rock bottom yet. We're still a few years away from that.
No. But yeah, it's a pretty shitty match, But I have just one positive takeaway about this match.
Let me hear it.
I don't know if you noticed, but during a sequence of the match, we had a ring post camera shooting the match, and. I never saw that before, and I have written in my notes, did TNA invent the ring post camera?
That's very possible.
Because that's the only one shot throughout the whole pay-per-view that they used the ring post camera.
Just weren't confident. They weren't confident in it. Like, we'll just try it. No one's watching this match anyways.
Yeah, and they picked the best match to do that. And it's something that I didn't see happening even in WWE before, like, 2012 or something like that. So
very recently.
Yeah, so 7 years before that, TNA was using the ring post cameras. I have no memory of that, no recollection whatsoever. But I like that. I like this stylistic choice.
I mean, but really, how much value does a ring post camera give you?
in a match with Raven versus Dusty Rhodes,
limit the amount of stuff you can see when these guys are wrestling. I mean, these guys had a match at the previous TNA pay-per-view, and I'll say that match was much worse. So maybe I was kind of grading this match at a scale as I was watching it. It couldn't get worse than that. So it was fine, but like you said, I wasn't very interested in it. And man, I don't know how closely you follow my episodes, but I've been watching way too many fucking bull rope matches lately. Because AEW had a bunkhouse match, which is basically a bull rope match without the actual. I mean, there's always bull ropes in bunkhouse matches.
Yeah.
I did a Ring of Honor 2002 episode that had a bunkhouse match. I did a WCW 94 episode that had a bunkhouse match and a bull rope match. It's like, man, I'm sick of bull ropes. Enough of the bull ropes. But I mean, as far as like this style of match, because you said you didn't really enjoy these like strap tying together matches, and I kind of agree with that. The only match that I remember enjoying it's kind of an obscure one. Judgment Day 2001, Kane versus Triple H. It was a chain match, but it's the same thing basically.
I never saw it.
You should go check it out. It was like I think it was actually Triple H's last match before he got injured. It's on a really who gives a fuck pay-per-view, but that's like the only match I can think about with this style of gimmick that I enjoyed.
I think a few years ago WWE had like Sheamus, and I'm not sure who was against it. Possibly Mark Henry. I don't know. It was a match that on paper should have been really much worse than how it turned out to be. I remember enjoying that match, and I said, "Well, you see, that's a bull rope match I enjoyed." Yeah, but it was I remember that Sheamus was involved.
Yeah, but this match was not as good as that. It was fairly quick, but like you said, it could have been quicker.
Yeah.
So they get tied together at the beginning of the match. This is like the one note I made because it was so silly. They get tied together by the bull rope, and then immediately Raven goes to the outside. Like, why? For you're fucking tied to a rope. That's the premise of the match. So Dustin just yanks him, and Raven hits the truss that's like on the corner of the ring. It's like, duh. But the finish comes. I actually kind of like the finish a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of silly. So Raven grabs a chair. But Dustin doesn't see it. He's got his back to him. Dustin pulls on the rope to pull Raven in. Raven pulls the chair up to his face to block Dustin's punch. But then, man, actually, now I'm thinking about it. Did Dustin get hurt from that, or did Raven? Do you remember?
I remember that they did this spot 2 times in the finish sequences, And the first time Raven missed the chair by, I don't know, 2 yards or something.
That sounds
like
about
that.
right. Yeah.
Something like that. And so they did it again to finish the match.
Yeah, but then the finish comes when someone sets up the chair, and then Dustin bulldogs Raven onto it and gets the pinfall there.
Yeah.
And then so Dustin wins, but who cares really? There was no real stakes to it. no reason to care about who won or lost. Also, after the match, for some reason, Team Canada sprints out there and to attack Dustin because he's a babyface and they're heels, I guess.
Yeah.
But then AMW follows right behind and runs Team Canada off. I mean, it was really just nothing happened.
Because it's like 1988 and it's America versus everybody, right?
Right, yeah, they're heels because foreign.
Yeah, of course. That's some progressive thoughts.
You're the heel on this podcast, by the way.
I know. Well, of course.
You dirty Italian.
Well, we imported mafia around the world. What you want? That's
subtle.
That's our main import.
No, nobody's talking about you guys. Everybody here is mad at China, but it really should be Italy.
Have you ever heard about Al Capone?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Was he? I guess he was Italian, right?
Yeah, he was actually Italian.
Right.
Like not second generation or third generation or whatever you call nowadays Italian. Like
fresh off the boat.
Yeah, it was fresh off the boat basically, and he imported mafia.
So if there's one headline from this podcast, it's that Frank established the mafia in America. That's my clickbait title for this.
Yeah. And also, do you want me to tell you some stories that has nothing to do with wrestling, but
Absolutely.
everything to do about mafia? Well, have you ever heard about Lucky Luciano?
I don't think so, no.
Well, if you Google it, something will come up. Lucky Luciano was a mobster, basically coming from Sicily. It was in Boston, I think, based if I'm correct. We are in the 1920s, 1930s, and he was one of the most famous mobsters in the U.S. When the Second World War came, and the D-Day in Normandy, right? 1944. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
That operation started with a sister military operation in Italy. And basically the American troops landed in Sicily and had to go all the way up to the northern part of Italy. But if you paid attention to your history classes, in Normandy, in France, that was a bloodbath. Thousands of people died. In Italy, they didn't have to shoot even one single shot.
Right.
And you know why? Because the Federals asked for some help to this man, Lucky Luciano, because they had to go in Sicily, which was where he came from. And they say, okay, tell your cousins, your friends, your mates to let us pass there. And he said, okay, I'll do that. And then he made one ship of the Marine Corps, I think, exploded just outside of Boston, and they immediately recalled that he was the one who gave the order to blow the ship up. And when asked why, he said, "Well, now you know that I'm serious." So basically, he gave to the Marines the permission to land in Sicily and go all the way up to the northern part of Italy without a scratch, basically. So that was how powerful at the time the connection between the mobsters in the United States and the motherland of Italy was.
Right.
Now is even stronger, but you just don't know.
Right, yeah. Are you threatening me?
No.
Is that the vibe I'm getting?
No. I'm not.
That's how strong. That's what can happen if you don't put me over in this podcast.
Yeah, I'll blow up your microphone.
I could use a new one anyways. It's fine.
Oh well,
Man.
So sorry for the detour, guys.
No, believe me, that detour was better than this next match.
Oh
was,
man, yeah, man.
You're talking about destruction.
Yeah.
Well, we got. Oh, you ready for it?
Yeah.
The Disciples of Destruction.
Oh fuck it.
Oh man, they so formerly known, if you were a WWF fan in the late 90s, the Disciples of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
DOA is essentially the same guys. Plus, I think it was Brian Adams. I think was with them too.
And the
Crush.
singer.
Whoever Crush was. Yeah.
Summer of ¡69.
He's singing Heaven, but with a leather jacket on a motorcycle. It was a very weird gimmick. It was progressive for the time.
Yeah.
But man, speaking of gimmicks, Phi Delta Slam. So, like, when I look at Phi Delta Slam, right?
Yeah.
They look like out of shape football players that have retired and are just like lounging in their living room. Like, what the? So I guess I'll set the stage for the match. So we have Team Trinity versus Team Tracy. Team Trinity, which, by the way, I didn't know Trinity and Tracy were different people. First of all, second of all, because they're both like similar names, black hair.
I was surprised. I was surprised as well.
Yeah, and so Team Trinity, Trinity's the heel in this situation, I guess, and her team is Phi Delta Slam. Well, I guess so. The backstory here. So we talked about how Trinity and Tracy were both talking to Dusty Rhodes backstage, and they're both fighting to become Dusty's assistant for whatever reason, I guess. So this match is to see who becomes that assistant. So whoever's team wins, because they couldn't just wrestle each other, they have to get the men to do all the work for them, right? Because, women. And so Trinity's team is Phi Delta Slam, a team comprised of Big Tilly and Bruno Sassy. And if you're like, hey, who the fuck are those guys? I'm gonna be like, hey, I don't know. So, because I actually Googled them, and they literally, this is like what they're known for. Yeah, in the scope of their career, they've like done some stuff on the Indies, but for all intents and purposes, they're TNA. I think they actually came back. They were like bodyguards for the Main Event Mafia.
Yeah. I think they came back a couple of times, but wow.
I don't think I knew at the time who they were, but now the story all makes sense. So Phi Delta Slam versus the Disciples of Destruction, who are
Ned's Helen's Hells Angels or something like that. Basically.
Exactly, yeah. So whatever their names were in WWF, it's like kind of like them. I forget what exactly their names were here, but it really doesn't matter.
Don Harris and Ron Harris.
Right, exactly. Yeah, those are the real names, but I think there's like H-Bomb and something else, something stupid. I didn't even know it because it was so dumb. But yeah, this match here kind of just plods along. I mean, it's a bunch of big guys with not a lot of heat. There's no heat. There's negative heat behind this match. Oh yeah. And both guys, the Disciples are both like got to be well into their careers at this point. So they were never that great to begin with. So and then you have Phi Delta Slam, who the fuck are they and who cares? And then some other big guys. They're not even they're not like in shape big. They're just big. Although they're like pretty athletic. They're like deceptively athletic for
their size. Yeah, I would say so.
But yeah, the match, man, this match felt like it lasted fucking forever.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It felt like at least at this point it was the longest match on the show.
Yeah, and you want to know actually how long it dragged?
How long?
For 10 minutes and 18 seconds.
It felt like 100. Yeah. I'm surprised it was only 10 minutes.
Yeah, and in this case is like 100 minutes too long. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but this match did give me my second big laugh of the show when one of the Disciples gets thrown to the outside and Trinity hits a moonsault, which this surprised the hell out of me. Mm-hmm. She from the top rope to the outside hits a moonsault on one of the Disciples, but the guy doesn't catch her. She just lands on the floor. I mean, like he almost catches her, but not well at all. Mm-hmm. But then he picks her up and just throws her right into the middle guardrail.
Yeah,
it's like holy shit.
That looked pretty stiff, actually. I don't think she was expecting that. No. That looked pretty. She looked out of breath, and I think she really was.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Tracy wanted, or it was Trinity. I might have said Tracy before, but they're interchangeable. Trinity does the moonsault, and I feel like she wanted to wrestle. So that's why she broke out the moonsault, and she probably like made the bump look a little more harsh than maybe it was, but whatever it is. I mean, the match, like I said, it kind of just crawls forward. But towards the end of the match, Big Tilly hits the big splash off the top rope onto one of the bald guys, but the ref is distracted because why wouldn't he be?
Yeah, of course.
And then as Big Tilly gets up to like go get the ref, the disciples do a little bit of twin magic.
Yeah, twin magic.
Yes. And so whoever the guy that slides in is playing possum, and then ultimately hits Big Tilly with a big boot for the 1, 2, 3. So the Disciples of Destruction win this match. Tracy is the assistant to Dusty Rhodes, right? No, Tracy.
Tracy,
But that just goes to show, like, I don't really associate the girls with their teams because the story has just been so shitty. The match sucked and the stakes didn't mean anything. That was a big waste of time, in my opinion.
All of my notes about this match is, fuck, this is bad. And then I've written, twin magic and the Nazis win with possibly the worst big boot I've ever seen. Because it was oddly timed with Big Boot, and he wasn't able, Don or Ron, whatever his name is, he wasn't able to even lift the leg properly. So
they were all blown up in this match too.
Yeah, so it just basically kicks the Feed Delta Slam guy in the stomach or something like that.
Yeah.
There was a terrible Big Boot, and for the Nazi to win.
I liked your summation of the match more than mine. Nazi hits Big Boot, but not really.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't even know if really anything amounts after that. I don't know if either team stays or if Dusty stays even. I don't know.
Nothing is really important after that. But then we go to the possibly the biggest monstrosity of all of this pay-per-view.
Let's do it. What's that? Johnny Fair Play?
No. Sorry, I skipped the segment.
No, I did too. I literally walked away. I didn't even pause it from the next segment.
No, yes. I meant Monty Brown versus Trytan, or Trytan. I don't know. Trytan.
Yeah.
What can we say?
Didn't like it? Well, I will say here, first of all, so... Man, you talk about building guys up and then doing nothing with them. Yeah. Nobody exemplifies that more than Trytan. Because, man, for weeks, if not months, they've been doing these vignettes of, oh, he's coming. It's like green lights.
Yeah.
They're not explaining who he is at all. It's just, oh, he's coming. He's wearing sunglasses.
Yeah.
That's really all his character is. So for weeks, they were doing it up until the last pay-per-view, which is Against All Odds. And at Against All Odds, they did a vignette that like stopped the show. The lights went out. And they're like, oh, Trytan's going to debut on Impact next week. And then next week comes, what does he do for his debut? Well, we have Monty Brown in the ring. The lights go out. Trytan's music hits. Trytan appears out of the smoke in the entranceway, does a little pose with his hands.
Yeah.
And then he walks away. Guess what happened the week after that? The same thing. So it's literally just weeks of that, weeks of Trytan just interrupting Monty Brown, looking at him ominously, and that's the backstory. Y'all caught up?
Yeah, and but we've been rewarded with a very great match. Haven't we?
6 stars. And you know it's funny? Because at the last pay-per-view, because they brought up Trytan, and I was like, who the hell is Trytan? So I Googled him, and he literally, like, his Wikipedia is hilarious, because after he stayed with TNA for a few months, and then he went to OVW for a few months, and then apparently just fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Nobody cares to follow what this guy's doing now, because maybe because of this match, honestly.
Well, Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know about the backstory that they tried to introduce him for a couple of weeks, but I was just super pumped for Monty Brown because I'm a Monty Brown mark, the king
Absolutely,
of the
me too.
Serengeti.
He's the best.
And I was so fucking pumped, and this match got me unpumped. I don't know if that's the word, but
Deflated you.
Deflated, yeah. Unpumped sounded funnier.
Right.
I like to make up words, and basically, the instant I saw this Trytan, I bursted out laughing because he has, for our listeners who have never seen this guy, he is like probably close to 7 foot tall. Mm-hmm. He has this monster steroid look, but I was distracted by his incredibly small head. Did you notice that?
Dude, I was trying to put my finger on what was wrong with his body, but you just nailed it.
Did you notice that?
That's what it was.
Fuck.
That's what it was.
That was so disproportioned. He had like a child head on this monster body.
Dude, he's like when God was making a person and he was just using like all the spare parts that he had and he was just like putting people together like wrong pieces. Like the head did not match his body at all. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so basically, I can tell you nothing about this match because I was distracted by this thing, by this small head.
I was distracted by his shitty facial hair, his little chin,
as well.
Chin strap.
Yeah, that looked out of place as well because he had his childlike head, so you don't want to see facial hair on child, and then in the end, like he did some Undertaker-like trick when the lights went out, and basically Monty Brown was facing a masked man. And
the second masked man of the night, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, the second one. Yeah, you're right. And I'm not sure why Monty Brown decided to pounce this guy and cover him, and I'm not sure why the referee even counted the pin. But who was this guy? Why the fuck the referee counted?
Yeah, I mean, just to expand on like what you just said, because that is, I mean, really, I mean, it was all just a bunch of silliness. And because like I said, when I looked up Trytan and he amounted to nothing, I was like, man, they're putting so much effort into building this guy. Like, how bad could this match be to where they just gave up on him? Yeah. So I went into this match. This was honestly my most like the match I was most eager to see on this card because I was so interested to see, because I'd never watched Trytan before. I didn't know what it looked like or anything. So I was like, why did he become such a failure? And I got my answer within the first minute, because like you said, his tiny ass head. Yeah. I mean, this dude looks like a nerd that just happens to be tall.
Yeah.
Like he's not, look, I mean, he could probably kick my ass. He's 7 foot tall, but he doesn't look intimidating to me. It doesn't come through the screen that he's a scary guy.
No, not at all.
And like within the first minute of the match, Trytan goes for like a military press on Monty Brown and it almost drops him on his fucking head.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
At that point, I was like, oh, God. I think he was kind of rattled from that point on because nothing really interesting happened after that until Monty Brown started making his comeback because all of his offense was entertaining as hell. Because like you said, Monty Brown he's the best they got at this point for sure. And trust me, we're not done talking about Monty Brown. We're going to talk about him a lot at the end. But yeah, like you said, the lights go out. Yeah. So the lights go out and we get the second masked man of the night. He never takes his mask off. We don't know who he is. So lights go off. Lights come back on. The masked guy's there. Trytan's gone. Monty Brown's still there though. So what does Monty Brown do? Because he's from the Serengeti or whatever it was. He's going to attack whoever's in front of him, I guess. Gives him the pounce.
Yeah, probably.
And I guess because he can't pounce somebody and not pin him, so he pins him. And the ref's like, well, I guess. So he counts the 1, 2, 3 for whatever reason. I guess this guy's taking too many ref bumps.
Yeah. The ref was kind of looking like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, and then so Monty, I guess, gets the win here. I don't even know if his storyline continues after this. But yeah, like you said, Trytan kind of appears at the top of the entranceway, like once again doing his stupid little hand gesture in the smoke, and then just kind of saunters away. Like he knows the match wasn't good, so it's funny watching him try to be intimidating, but then kind of just walk away like, oh man.
And do you know who the mask guy was?
I don't. Do you?
It seems like that he was median, but the whole thing was never addressed again on Impact. So
man,
so we'll never know.
We'll never know. That's the question everybody's been waiting for a decade and a half.
Yeah, their shit says that it was median.
Man, what could have been? We could have gotten Midian and TNA. That's what really would have sent them to the moon, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it made no sense. I don't want to spoil the end of the pay-per-view, but if you consider what happens at the end, it makes no sense to have two guys going after Monty Brown. Well,
I'm glad you brought that up because put a pin in that, everybody.
Yeah.
Monty Brown, Trytan, Midian.
Yeah.
Put a pin in it. So now we have so DDP is doing a promo here while doing yoga.
Yeah, it's basically a DDP yoga commercial.
His whole presence in TNA, I feel like, is just an infomercial for DDP yoga.
Yeah.
I think that's like really the incentive of him being there.
Yeah.
What did you think of DDP, just like in general? Because I was never like a huge fan of him personally.
Oh, I've never.
I guess you didn't watch in the late 90s, right?
Yeah. I didn't have the chance to see him at the time when he was.
I didn't watch him
speak. I remember seeing him a couple of times in TNA back in 2005, 2006, and it always fell flat to me because at the time you had Legend Killer Orton doing the same moves in a very much more interesting ways.
This is around the time he brought it to the forefront, I think.
Yeah. So to me, it was like, man, probably I like him more now than what I liked about him at the time.
Oh, I do DDP yoga at least once a week, so I love my boy Dally. I'm not trying to shit on Dallas Page, but yeah, as far as like, because I never watched him in his peak either, so I probably have a warped view of it as well.
Yeah.
I've really mostly, as far as wrestling goes, the main thing I associate with him is cucking Undertaker's wife. So, it is what it is. Maybe that's unfair.
It's not a great legacy.
Not the best, no. But yeah, just another example, because we were talking about Raven and Dustin Rhodes earlier about how the old guys are just showing up. TNA is trying to get some name value, but the guys don't really care, and that's just another example with DDP here.
Yeah. But the best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come, and we have some of that best right here. We have Jeff Hardy versus Abyss.
Yeah.
In a final assault match. Now, if you're asking, hey, what's a final assault match? It's just an overly complicated way to describe a hardcore match.
Yeah, a Falls Count Anywhere, I would say as well.
Essentially.
This match was the first match of the evening that I had some memories of. I remember distinctly Jeff Hardy doing the senton from that X structure. I don't know how to call it.
Yeah.
Because that clip was used a lot in TNA at the time.
Right. Well, there's another clip where Jeff Hardy jumps like off the stage, like onto the floor.
Yeah.
Like by the entranceway. And that's what I think about when I think of Jeff Hardy and Abyss and like those crazy swantons in TNA.
Yeah.
And that's what I didn't know if it was this match or if it's a match like down the road. And I guess it's a match down the road. But yeah, like you said, a hardcore match. They immediately fight to the back. And like you said, there's like a random like truss, I guess. It's like in the shape of an X against the wall. Jeff Hardy sets up Abyss on the table. And Jeff climbs this truss, which has to be at least like 10, 15 feet off the air.
Yeah.
Swanton through the table onto the concrete. It was a pretty cool spot. And I'm surprised I haven't seen that more. I guess the next one he does is a little bit more spectacular. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, but that was a really good spot that I remember they used it a few times.
For sure. Yep. And then they fight back to the ring eventually. Some pretty cool spots. I mean, I actually enjoyed this match quite a bit for what it was. Yeah. I feel like both these guys are like they're in their element in this match, and I kind of like that they're working together. It feels like it makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot of chair spots, chairs, ladders, tables. It might as well be a TLC match.
Yeah.
Jeff brings out a ladder at some point, and he does that the hop over the ladder leg jump spot, which I've always loved for some reason.
The jumping guillotine, and I don't want to think about the state of Jeff Hardy's butt after that.
Right? Yes,
that looked brutal.
He's still wrestling today, still walking today.
Yeah.
If nothing else. I mean, it's crazy all this shit he put his body through.
Yeah.
Even like, man, Abyss hits the shock treatment in this match, and that move always looks brutal. I'm talking about the like torture rack when he like sits down.
Yeah.
Is brutal. Lots of chairs, lots of ladders. At some point in this match, Abyss goes to the outside, and he takes like 5 years to grab a table from under the ring. It felt like he goes like, because there's 6 sides to the ring, so he has to go to like 3 different sides to find it, and he finds the table, but it's like caught on something, so he takes forever to like jostle that loose. Then throws it in the ring, sets up the table, puts Jeff Hardy on it. I think.
Yeah.
Isn't that what happens? Or because he's going to go through for a splash off the second rope through the table onto Jeff Hardy, but Jeff Hardy gets up, fights him off. Jeff Hardy goes for a top rope Frankensteiner to try to put Abyss through this table, but Abyss counters into a brutal looking power bomb.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that, but he almost like hit his head on the ladder, which, given what happened on Raw a few weeks ago, I guess he's used to that.
Yeah.
And then Abyss tries to choke slam Jeff Hardy onto the ladder, because every tall masked man has to do a choke slam apparently. But Jeff Hardy counters and hits the twist of fate onto the ladder, kind of, for the win. So Jeff Hardy wins. But after the match, Abyss attacks Jeff Hardy, goes back under the ring, gets a bag, a mysterious black bag, whatever could be in there.
Yeah, I have no idea what could they bring out of the ring.
And can I tell you, obviously there's thumbtacks in there, but the way Abyss like laid them out on the mat was the most aesthetically pleasing way I've ever seen thumbtacks. Like how smooth and like concrete it was.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But and Abyss hits the black hole slam onto Jeff Hardy onto the tacks, which is surprising because usually whoever sets up the tacks takes the bump onto it. But good fun little spot after the match, some fun spots during the match, and I think that as far as, at least at this point of the show, I think it was the best match of the night. Yeah,
at this point it was the only match that I can say I truly enjoyed some bits of it. I think that the tax spot was unnecessary at the end, because I get that Abyss had to get his seat back after being defeated. I get that. But at the time, he was using the Tamtex basically every fucking match. I think Jim Cornette said to him that he didn't need to use it every time. That took me a little bit away after it. But oh boy, we are lucky because the next match was a ton of fun, wasn't it?
It was just as brutal, just as vicious.
For us.
Yeah. This is us taking the bump by watching this match.
Yeah, I would have preferred to take Jeff Hardy's bump on the thumbtacks.
So you'd rather take a bump on the thumbtacks than watch Billy Gunn wrestle in 2005?
Yeah.
Sorry.
And Kevin
Not
Nash.
Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn isn't here. Yeah. It's the Outlaw.
Yeah.
Man, this is like... So the match is a taped fist first blood match. I don't know. Is taped fist a thing that existed like back in the day? As a match type? It flew over my head. I don't know what the purpose of it is. I guess maybe you bleed easier if you get hit with taped fists.
I have no idea.
Maybe?
I have no idea.
They're putting so much emphasis on that for whatever reason. Just call it a fucking first blood match, please.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was. And so the backstory, because it's very important, everybody, the very layered backstory here. So Kevin Nash, the last pay-per-view had Jeff Jarrett versus Kevin Nash, which I can't even say that without laughing. And so in that match, the Outlaw, who at the time they were calling the New Age Outlaw, but I guess it was, I don't know if there was like a cease and desist issued or if...
probably the legals in Stanford weren't exactly okay with that.
It's like when Big Boss Man went to WCW and they called him the Boss.
The Boss,
but then WWF was like, no, that's too close. So they called him the Guardian Angel after that. So I don't know, maybe if that's something that happened here, I didn't really care enough to research it. But the backstory, so Jeff Jarrett and Kevin Nash main eventing the last pay-per-view. The Outlaw makes his debut there to help Jeff Jarrett. Why? Yeah. Who the fuck knows? I guess... So the commentary is kind of putting him over as like an insurance policy for Jeff Jarrett. So I guess Jarrett's just paying him. I guess that's the extent of the storytelling there. And then Kevin Nash and Jeff Jarrett have been at odds. They were in a faction together. But they, like I said, they were put together facing each other at the last pay-per-view. So now there's bad blood there. And Nash is upset that the Outlaw cost him the match. Mm-hmm. At the last pay-per-view, so that's kind of what set up this match here. So like I said, first blood match, and right away Billy Gunn goes under the ring, pulls out a screwdriver.
Yeah.
A screwdriver, everybody. And what's he going to do with it? Well, he's going to stab Kevin Nash in the face with it. Because wrestling.
Yeah.
And so... He at least tries to stab him in the face with it, but Kevin Nash fights it off. The old school, like, oh, he's pushing him down, but they're like fighting against each other. That whole deal. And then Billy Gunn ends up hitting Nash with a steel chair in the face, but doesn't bust open Nash yet. So Billy then takes off the turnbuckle pad to expose the steel in the corner, tries to run Nash's head into it, but the ref gets in the way because apparently that's just too far. not the screwdriver.
Yeah, the screwdriver.
Not literal face stabbing, but the turnbuckle corner pad was too much. But the Jeff Jarrett eventually comes out because we all need more Jeff Jarrett in our lives, apparently.
Yeah. Because we didn't have enough run-in so far in this pay-per-view.
Right, exactly.
at least he wasn't wearing a mask.
Yeah, that's what it needed. We needed lights to turn off.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I should say Nash ends up busting Billy Gunn open with a I don't even remember, was it the corner, the exposed corner? I think that's what did it.
I actually don't recall.
Doesn't matter. Billy Gunn's bleeding. Yeah. That's all that matters. I think actually Nash just like punched him with his taped fist. I think that's what they were trying to get over.
Yeah.
But then Jeff Jarrett comes out, hits Kevin Nash with the title belt, the NWA title belt, and makes Kevin Nash bleed. So now they're both bleeding, but the referee's down, of course, because it's TNA, and there's always got to be a ref knocked out somewhere.
Yeah, of course.
And so they're both bleeding. What happens next? Well, my third huge laugh of the show. A doctor and Jeff Jarrett's attorney run out to the ring, and you know he's a doctor because he's wearing a white jacket.
Yeah. That was so comically large for his size as well.
Well, he's a doctor, you know? They don't just give those away, you know?
Yeah, you're right.
So the doctor, who I guess is like a crooked doctor with Jarrett, gets in the ring and stitches up Billy Gunn in the corner inside the ring while the ref is down. He takes like 2 minutes to stitch up Billy Gunn, puts on new skin.
Yeah,
at least that's what the commentary told me, that they were putting on new skin on Billy Gunn. And so he stops the bleeding on Gunn. Nash is still bleeding. Ref gets back up, sees that Nash is busted open, so Billy Gunn wins.
Yeah.
And then after the match, Kevin Nash hits him with a botched jackknife powerbomb.
Yeah, the most embarrassing jackknife ever.
It was a sit-out powerbomb, okay? It was a sit-out powerbomb.
Batista bomb, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
What'd you think of this, man?
Atrocious from start to finish. We had like... I don't know, probably Gunn at some point wanted to show off that he knows how to use everything that's inside a toolbox. He wanted to demonstrate that he is a real man's man. You know, he can use everything in a toolbox because otherwise there is no point in bringing all of this stuff out. And it was, everything about it was between a comedy and a tragedy. The doctor running, Jeff Jarrett, the jackknife powerbomb at the end.
It was a comedy of errors.
Yeah.
It was just nobody cared really going into this match. Once again, just two names that don't really care, and which results into a pretty bad match.
Yeah.
So it's like, what does TNA gain here? And yeah, fun stuff. But it was worth it for the comedy at the end, if nothing else.
Yeah. If you've seen any of Billy Gunn's matches in 2020 on AEW Dark, they are way better than this 2005 match. Yeah. He is
worse.
He is actually putting some efforts into it. Maybe because he has both of his sons in there, but he is putting some efforts now.
Yeah, it's got to be a cool opportunity to team with your son. At that stage, especially because I think even Billy Gunn, I think he was just in like a bodybuilding competition, so he's still like very in shape, obviously, as he's kind of always been. And what I have seen from him in AEW, he seems like he can still go at a pretty solid pace. Yeah,
absolutely.
As fast a pace as he's ever wrestled, at least. So, not at the pace of this next match. Ultimate X Challenge.
Finally,
not an Ultimate X match. Ultimate X Challenge, and so this is like, first of all, I will say it was a great match. But it's just like they're adding like unnecessary layers to it. Kind of is like, it's so TNA.
Was a little bit convoluted in it.
So here's the rules here. So Ultimate X, everybody knows, there's the cables that are in the shape of an X up top and with the belt hanging in the middle.
Yeah.
You have to climb the cables to grab the belt. It's a ladder match, but different. But not this match. So this match, there is a title hanging. But first, it starts off as a tag team match.
For some reasons.
There's 4 guys in this. So there's AJ Styles, who's the champ, Christopher Daniels, Ron the Truth Killings, and Elix Skipper. Elix Skipper, if you don't know, is the guy that walked the cage and did that crazy spot.
Yeah.
That Hurricane Rana spot. For anybody that doesn't know.
The unsung hero of TNA.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. For sure. That was definitely a turning point for them.
Yeah.
So this match, as you said, starts out with a tag match. And I believe it is, who is it? It's AJ and Elix Skipper versus Christopher Daniels and R-Truth. Or Truth. I'm gonna call him R-Truth probably in this match.
Yeah.
If I have that right. I don't even know if it really matters, honestly.
Yeah, it probably doesn't matter, but yeah, I think
So the overall premise of this match is it starts out as a tag match. Whoever takes the fall is eliminated. Then it becomes a triple threat match.
Yeah.
Whoever takes the fall there is eliminated. So when it's down to the final 2, then is when Ultimate X starts.
Yes.
So still an Ultimate X match, but with just some hoo-ha in the beginning.
Yeah.
I guess.
Guess who was booking that shit?
I can only imagine. Is it Russo? Was Russo there at this point?
Yeah, I think so. Pretty much.
That makes this whole show make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. But so the tag match happens pretty quick. All these guys are super talented, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, of course.
Truth ends up getting eliminated by Elix Skipper, I believe. Do I have that right?
No idea, actually. I don't recall. Actually,
I don't
I don't recall who eliminated who.
I watched this yesterday and I already forget. But also, like, one thing about this match is that Daniels and AJ Styles are like being portrayed as the stars of this match, like by far.
Yes.
They had a match at the previous pay-per-view, and they're the guys that have been built the most at this point. So it's like obvious that they're going to be the final 2. So it's like, why not just have a one-on-one Ultimate X match?
Yeah, or even a fatal 4-way, but don't do the unnecessary bullshit before. Even because just the fact that we don't recall who is the guy who pinned, it shows that you have a lack of attention, because you know that everything that happens before doesn't matter. So
right. Exactly.
If you want, you could have done Ultimate X 101 or Fatal 4-way Ultimate X. That would have made much more sense.
Yeah, I would have loved to see a Fatal 4-way with these guys, but
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Truth gets eliminated. So now it's a triple threat match between Styles, Daniels, and Skipper. Skipper ends up getting eliminated, which also another layer to this match is that Christopher Daniels and Elix Skipper were a tag team.
Yeah.
A long time tag team. Triple X.
Triple X, yeah.
Yes. And they just recently disbanded from that cage match I was just talking about where Elix Skipper walked the cage. They lost that match and had to disband because of it. And that was still like 2 or 3 months before this. So it's still pretty fresh in everybody's mind.
Yeah.
But I feel like the commentators weren't, I mean, they mentioned it a little bit, but I feel like that could have been a deeper part of this match.
Yeah, probably.
But, ultimately Skipper just gets eliminated anyway, so who cares? But
before that,
yeah.
Christopher Daniels did that crazy, I would call it, I don't know, moonsault, probably, from the X suspended above. He basically sat on the thing and let himself fall backwards, and that was amazing.
Yeah, I think that there's like a famous spot or infamous spot, I guess, where I think it's Daniels as he's like Curry Man at the time, and he does it, but he like lands on his head.
Yeah,
maybe it was Suicide. Yeah. Some mascot did it, and it was very similar to that, but he landed it much better here than he did at that point. But yeah, really impressive spot. Kind of like convoluted, but it's Ultimate X. You got to use those cables.
Well, talking about convoluted, AJ Styles' spot was much more convoluted than that, and he basically landed with the face on Elix Skipper knee.
Yes, it's like because it was pretty similar to what Daniels did. So AJ climbs the cables, gets to the middle-ish, and he does like a full gymnastics routine before he does like a shooting star press onto Skipper and Daniels. But it was kind of like a very similar spot. It was weird that they did it like right after each other.
Yeah.
But Skipper ends up getting pinned. What is he? How does he get pinned? No, this is what happens. So Elix Skipper hits the sudden death onto AJ Styles, which is like an Emerald Flosion, white noise kind of move.
Oh, yeah.
Hits it on AJ, but then Daniels comes up behind Elix Skipper and rolls him up into a schoolboy, pinning Elix Skipper for the quick win. So now we have Daniels versus AJ. What it should have been all along in an Ultimate X match officially. Mm-hmm. So now the goal is to grab the title that's hanging. And one thing that I really loved about this match is that both guys were constantly trying to get the title. Like I feel like in these kinds of matches, ladder matches of these sorts, there's like, okay, let's do all these spots, these crazy moves, and then the title is secondary. But here, it's like both guys were constantly climbing the cables trying to get that title and fighting each other off. It felt like it wasn't pretty. It didn't look pretty at a lot of times, but it felt like a struggle. And I feel like that made the match really good, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. At the beginning, I had the idea that they botched the finish, but then it was intentional, actually. Because they both tried to reach for the titles multiple times without grabbing it once and for all. So, yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah, I still don't know if it was a botch or not because both guys are climbing the cables. They fight each other off. Both of them fall down and hit the referee. So the ref is down once again. These poor refs taking bumps in every single goddamn match. But so the ref is down. And I think, if I remember correctly, both AJ and Daniels climb once again they climb the cables to get to the belt. And Daniels falls, but then it looks like AJ tries to pull down the title as he's falling, but then the title just doesn't come down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But maybe it was a botch, maybe it wasn't. But either way, AJ just goes right back up, grabs the title. This time he pulls it down. So he pulls the title down. AJ's on the ground on the canvas of the ring, but the ref is still down, so he doesn't see him. Oh my God. So Christopher Daniels hits the Angel's wings onto AJ Styles because he thinks he won. He thinks the match is over. So Daniels catches him off guard, hits the Angel's wings, grabs the title. Ref gets up, sees Daniels with the title. I guess Daniels grabbed the title, so he wins. He's the champion.
Yeah,
almost identical to the First Blood finish we saw earlier.
Yeah, that was the first time the referee was ever involved in a wrestling match, probably because he didn't know that there was a there was a trope that people used. No, all in all, I think well, this is of course match of the night, and if you believe it or not, this pay-per-view had very positive reviews at the time. People said that it was one of the best pay-per-views of TNA's history.
Really?
It had a really positive review. I absolutely don't agree with that, but this match probably made the pain we suffered before worse.
Yeah. I mean, I will say there's a lot of unique stuff on this show. I'll give them that. They were different.
Yeah.
In some ways. I mean, I guess not that different than 2001 WCW, but that's here nor there.
Yeah.
So yeah, really good match. You know, even the dumb finish aside, good match, very entertaining. But the next match was I don't know. I'll say this. So we have the world title is on the line. We have Jeff Jarrett, the champ, versus DDP.
Yeah.
It is a ringside revenge match. Not a lumberjack match, says Mike Tenay over and over again. Not a lumberjack match. Not a Okay, we heard you. So there's not really a lot of backstory to this, honestly. Is DDP wants the title and Jeff Jarrett's the champion. That's pretty much the premise of it.
Yeah.
And as per every Jeff Jarrett world title match, it's kind of very like Attitude Era style, like a lot of fighting in the crowd, a lot of, it's no one's saying that it's no disqualification, but there's no disqualifications.
Oh yeah.
They fight to the back, they fight in the crowd, trash cans, chairs. There was one funny spot where DDP brings a desk chair into the ring. He puts it in the center of the ring, sits Jeff Jarrett down on it, and DDP will punch Jarrett and he'll like spin around.
Yeah.
That was so stupid, but I popped for it.
Yeah, that was a fun spot. As usual, as you said, Jeff Jarrett took the heat for like 90% of the match.
Yeah, for sure.
But please tell us what happened later.
Man, I need to take a deep breath before all the shit that happened. I don't even know if I'm going to cover all of it.
Every kind of run-in.
So yeah, the match, was what it was, but then the run-ins start. Let's see. You can correct me. Feel free to jump in and correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, because I was trying to take notes, but there's so much happening.
Yeah, me too, but there was too many.
Chris Candido ends up tripping up DDP as he's running the ropes.
Yeah.
So Jeff Jarrett hits the stroke, his finishing move, but only gets a 2 count. Then BG James runs in, tries to hit Jeff Jarrett with the guitar, and Jarrett is being held by Conan, who, as we all remember, they're all in 3 Alive crew together, or at least BG and Conan are.
Yeah.
So BG swings at Jarrett, but Jarrett ducks and hits Conan with the guitar. Oh my God. Did he do it on purpose? Oh my God. I know they're going to fucking play that up on Impact the next episode. But then what happens next? So DDP pushes the ref into Jeff Jarrett. So Jarrett is on the top rope, I think, right? Yeah, Jeff Jarrett's on the top rope. Mm-hmm. DDP pushes the ref into Jarrett, so Jarrett falls on the turnbuckle, and he's crotched there for what feels like 5 minutes. Billy Gunn runs in, gives the famouser to DDT.
Yeah.
Sean Waltman comes in, because why wouldn't he?
Yeah, Sean Waltman. Fucking hell. I was like, what?
Which, by the way, this exact thing happened in Jeff Jarrett versus Kevin Nash. Billy Gunn came in and helped Jarrett. And then Sean Waltman came in and fought off Jarrett and Gunn. The same thing happened. And Waltman,
to Waltman credits, the crowd popped.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I mentioned this in my last episode, but it had a fun atmosphere to it. Bullshit aside.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sean Waltman, they don't really, because like I said, he appeared at the last pay-per-view, but he didn't appear at any of the impacts, so they never really explained what his involvement was.
Yeah,
I guess, I don't know. And then so he's back here and once again attacking Billy Gunn and Jeff Jarrett. Bronco Busters for everybody. I mean, it's always fun seeing X-Pac there, I'm gonna be honest. But then eventually, where do you go from X-Pac? The Naturals. It was hysterical because, like you said, the crowd popped hard for Sean Waltman.
Yeah.
But then you have Chase Stevens and Andy Douglas getting in there, and the crowd is like, what? Why?
And the crowd went mild.
Yes, exactly. Unpumped the crowd, as you would say. And so Candido's in there too, and they're all attacking DDP. DDP fights them all off. It gives a few diamond cutters to some of them. But remember, Jeff Jarrett is still on the top rope from being crotched, a fortnight ago. And so DDP goes for the diamond cutter off of the second rope, and he hits it. But that damn attorney gets back. The doctor, I guess the doctor's done for the day. But Jeff Jarrett's attorney gets in the ring to try to stop the pin. But Monty Brown gets in the ring, and he's like, hey, DDP, I got this. I'm going to go attack the attorney and get him out of here so you can win. So Monty Brown charges the attorney, hits the ropes, comes back, pounce to DDP.
Yeah.
My God. It was me, Austin. It was me all along. That kind of shit.
Yeah.
And that's Swerve City. And then Jarrett pins DDP after the pounce, gets the win. And Jarrett's still champion. Reign of Terror continues.
That's why I say fuck off, Vince Russo. Fuck off. Because basically, aside from AJ Styles, Monty Brown was the biggest rising star in TNA.
Absolutely.
He was the most natural baby face that they had. I think he debuted as a heel, but he almost immediately turned baby face because it was so entertaining, so electrifying. So it was really a star in the making. And you took your biggest babyface prospect and you turned him heel for for what? To help this old guys gang of
just for the sake of a swerve
of Jeff Jarrett, and for fuck's sake, Larry Zbyszko was involved in that too. It was one of the lumberjacks.
How could I forget?
Oh fuck it! I mean, that was tremendous. I was so fucking pissed, and to be honest, still am.
Dude, because like you said, Monty Brown, the top guy that they had, everybody loved him. Was having really good matches. I mean, he faced Jeff Jarrett a few pay-per-views ago.
Yeah.
He's had matches with Abyss and stuff. Like his moveset's entertaining. He's great on the mic. He's unique. He's a legitimate athlete. He's a Super Bowl football player.
Oh yeah.
And so they have all this momentum behind him. And like you said, they just turn him heel for the sake of turning him heel. And that's kind of like, because I wonder, because I was watching Monty Brown in these previous pay-per-views. I'm like, man, this guy's red hot. Why did this guy never win the title? Why did this guy never really amount to much in TNA? And then I see this happen. And then I'm like, oh, that's why. I think this might have killed Monty Brown.
Yeah, this is truly the beginning of the end for Monty Brown, because I think they let him be a heel for a few months. Then you have Samoa Joe debuting for Impact or TNA, and Samoa Joe basically had a run where he was undefeated for a year and a half or something like that. And from that point onwards, Samoa Joe was built in the same way that they built Monty Brown before. And in a way, I'm happy because I'm a huge fan of Joe. But you could have done that even before. I mean, you could have built at the same time those two guys as let's say monster baby faces. And that's
because Monty Brown, because I saw a clip recently where Sting debuted in TNA.
Yeah.
And this was like almost a year after this. And Monty Brown is still with Jeff Jarrett at that point. So I don't know if they stayed together, consecutively throughout that whole time. But man, if Monty Brown just spends a year as Jeff Jarrett's henchman, that is brutal. And it's no wonder really they didn't reach above this point.
Yeah.
But at least we got Marcus Corvon in ECW.
I was a.
You remember that?
Of course I do. I was
Of course you do.
Of course I
How
do.
dare I?
I was a huge Marcus Corvorn mark and a huge Braden Walker mark for the all 3 weeks that he was there.
Knock knock, Braden Walker.
Yeah. Yeah. Knock knock. Terrible knock knock jokes. Braden Walker.
Man. If he would have had better knock knock jokes, he would have been world champion.
Yeah, probably. That's all that it was.
That's funny because he also had like Lance Hoyt in ECW at that time, and
Yeah.
a bunch of guys. It's kind of a weird crossover. I never really thought about how all these guys on this show are like in ECW at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that brings the show to a close. Overall, what did you think of this show?
Pretty crap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not good with grading stuff, but yeah, except for the Ultimate X, I wouldn't recommend any other match. Even the Jeff Hardy Abyss, yeah, it was enjoyable, mostly because everything that came before was really terrible.
Yeah,
and
but they've had better matches in the future.
Yeah.
Abyss and Jeff Hardy, so
Yeah.
I would recommend one of those matches instead of this.
The opening match with AMW, Three Life Crew, and Team Canada was fine, I guess. Then Chase Steven versus Chris Sabin was I don't know,
forgettable.
Yeah, forgettable. Raven Dusty Rhodes, terrible. Fiudetta Slam versus the Nazi Bikers, terrible. Monty Brown versus Trytan, fuck off for him and his small head. Jeff Hardy versus Abyss, yeah, it was enjoyable, but I wouldn't watch it back. Outlaw versus Kevin Nash, whoa, that's a 7-star classic. And the Ultimate X was the only match that I would say, yeah, I can like watch it back just for fun. And the less said about every Jeff Jarrett match ever, the better.
Yeah, man, this podcast episode could have just been that last 60 seconds of you talking. Fuck Trytan and his small head.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with you. I mean, it was fun to watch in like a historian's point of view, just to see how ridiculous everything was. But man, if I paid for this, I'd be pretty upset.
Yeah.
But you didn't pay for it. You fucks over there for stealing pay-per-views.
No. We had it for free on television, so that was good.
Whatever you had to tell yourself. But yeah, so you've been doing a lot of interviews lately. The Last Minute Wrestling Podcast.
Yes. My latest interview at this moment is with the Joe Hendry from Ring of Honor. He's a Scottish wrestler. He's been in Impact Wrestling for a little while. Now he's been sent to Ring of Honor, and it was actually an interview I enjoyed a lot doing because I've been following his career since he was in the Indies, and I would recommend everybody to go check the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast on lmwpodcast.com or everywhere on the social media just by typing in at LMW Podcast, and that's it. That's it, basically.
Perfect, man. Yeah, Frank's got a great show over there. A lot of cool interviews. Really, really good looking website too. I checked it out earlier. It's definitely a lot better than a lot of websites I see. But yeah, really good stuff over there. And I'll put all your information in the description as well. So everybody go check out Frank and the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast. And yeah, thanks again for coming on, man.
Well, man, thanks for having me. That was a lot of fun.
Once again, thank you to Frank Mandolini for joining me today on this fantastic episode, recapping TNA Destination X 2005. Always a fun time talking about TNA. Always a fun time talking with Frank. So when you make those two things have intercourse together, well, then you just have a climax of I don't know, jizz, I guess. I don't know. It's penis jokes, okay? Penis jokes. So apronbump.com for all my episodes. If you enjoyed this TNA review, feel free to go check out my other TNA reviews. You can easily do that, one by searching at whatever podcast platform you choose. But you can also go to apronbump.com, click on episodes, and that'll allow you to kind of filter through which promotions and time periods you want to listen to me babble on. So check that out if you wish. Next week we have WWF Unforgiven 2001. And you might be thinking to yourself, man, that's kind of a random ass pay-per-view. Well, it kind of is, but man, recorded that a few days ago with the lovely Ruthless Aggression Era podcast, Dave from the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast, and man, that was a fun episode. So you'll be surely wanting to subscribe to the Apron Bump and make sure you don't miss that episode. That might set the record for the longest episode that I've done so far, outside of the round table from last week. But be sure to check that out. And yeah, Apron Bump on Twitter and Instagram, apronbump.com. And yeah, go suck your dog's dick and fucking, I don't know, sorry. I'm very bad at ending these shows now. I have an awesome song, but now it's just dribble leading up to it. Thank you guys once again for listening. I'm hard.
Yeah.
The hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud.